Welcome to the review for the 2023 NRBC. After a really great horse show that we had, I'm almost not necessarily at a loss for words, but I could spend a long time doing this, so I'm going to cut it down and give you my 5 main thoughts after watching the finals of the NRBC. And I'm just going to jump right into it. So, thought number 1 is, in a bad way to say this, the finals was almost disappointing. Not because of who won or anything like that. The prelims was so tough and so good and might have been the best go-round that I've ever watched at a Derby level event, at the Derby or the NRBC. It was so outstanding, and those guys had to use so much horse to even make the finals that I don't know. There's a few horses that looked like they didn't have anything left because of the short turnaround. There's a few horses that looked like they got in easy enough that they could go on and do more, and that's the horses that came back in the finals that you saw be excellent. This leads into my second point, which is, right now Casey and Andrea are the two guys to get around. Casey Deary and Andrea Fapani. They are better mounted. They are peaking in their careers at the prime of their career. Hardly anybody is a better showman than either one of them, and hardly anybody's a better trainer than either one of them. Those two guys right now are the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills of the NFL for the last few years. As it's not a matter of who else is going to win, it's which one of those two guys is going to be the biggest threat. Sometimes you get the surprise, but most of the time it's those two guys always. And there's a reason why. They have, in my opinion, the three best horses in the country right now. And you could make the argument that 1030 is stepping up to be in that conversation if his maturity shows up as much as it did this last week. I haven't seen 1030 be that good since the Futurity Finals, and I'm very, very happy to see a horse of that physical talent mature enough in his brain to get better like he is now. Because we always knew he could stop and turn. It's holding things together. It's doing things right. He was so good, and if he keeps showing at that level, he makes the argument of being in that conversation. And if he's that good in Vegas in August, probably in the shootout, because I'm guessing Casey's going to show amazing. But if he shows him in the shootout, then Casey's probably got his ticket punched for next year's million, for the 2024 million. And Andrea's in the same situation. I mean, obviously, he's trying to chase down the downright amazing horse because that one is right now downright amazing and probably the best horse in the country. But he's got the next two best, and whichever one you like based on your preference is fine. I'm not going to argue with you. You know my preference. I have the one I like a little better as the Gunner. But that being said, I wouldn't turn down a ride on either one of them because Lefty, Trash Talkin' Spook, was excellent in the finals. It's the first time I can remember that horse being good in the prelims and finals since he was a 3-year-old. That horse has matured to finally match his physical talent. And we saw that a little bit last year, but I mean, he looks better this year than he did last year, and he was amazing last year. So I think that's your 2-horse race to be the favorites for the Run for the Million, for the favorites for anywhere they show them, honestly. If those 2 horses are entered, good luck getting around them. I mean, that's what it feels like right now. It can happen. It's a horse show. They step out of lead or do something silly. And that's exactly what happened to my other horse on Andrea's list. All bets are off. 1 missed stop and 2 half-point overturn penalties. He's that far away from being right there and being in the top 2 or 3. I mean, I marked him at a 5.5 with penalties. But he was the one that was kind of the judge's choice on how bad they hit that minus stop. That's the thing. That's the one run that had a little discrepancy that I was kind of like, okay, I don't get where it came from. But here's the thing is, and this leads into my third point, which is the judging was excellent at the NRBC. And some of you know I have said some things about where I was worried about the judging going and stuff. In the last 3 months, a lot of my concerns have been alleviated. I feel like the judging system has always been excellent. I feel like the implementation of the system needs people behind it that are doing their job, or doing a good job and doing it for the betterment of the sport. And I feel like that's where we're at right now, is everybody is doing what they need to make this better. As an exhibitor, I feel better walking in the pen with anybody who's been to school in the last 3 months, especially because, or actually I guess it would be the last 5 months since the December school, because everything, all the feedback I've gotten has been excellent from the people who attended the schools. All of the experience of watching these events and seeing what's been going on with prep work, with the people who are judging and everything like that, working with people at Scottsdale, I feel like the judging has, and maybe it was just a blip in the road, but I feel like it's gotten better again, to the point where as a judge, I'm proud of what everybody's doing, and I think they did an excellent job. And as an exhibitor, I am comfortable and confident that whatever I do in the pen is going to be judged accordingly. Not necessarily that I agree with it, but that I can at least understand where they're coming from. And that's a huge confidence boost to me when I'm showing one. That's a huge confidence boost to me when I sit in the chair and I know that the other people are doing exactly what I'm doing, which is their best and their best opinion. And I love that. I love that part of the sport. I think we're heading for a very bright and trusting future with the NRHA, especially with that relationship between exhibitors and judges. My next point, number 4, and this is the one that I can't really segue straight into, but how I did my list of horses that I loved in this deal. My 4th favorite horse in the whole deal, and the horse I personally think might be the 4th best horse in the country, is Gina Schumacher's Gonna Step You, and it didn't even show in the Open. It dominated the non-pro, and that horse is a testament to what happens when you take your time and do your homework. And that goes to both Gina and Dwayne. Dwayne Latimer coaches Gina and trained that horse when he was a younger horse and did such a good job with him. And Gina has shown him and called on him back-to-back times in less than 3 weeks apart and won 2 major events on this horse. She beat the Open boys in Scottsdale, but she didn't have to show against Casey and Andrea. And then she came back here and beat all the non-pros at the NRBC. I know I don't cover the non-pros much, but because she and Mandy McCutcheon are both in the run for the million, I figured I'd just at least touch on this. And neither one of those two, because Mandy you can never count out, and Gina you shouldn't. She's getting to that point where you can't count her out anymore either. But especially when she's mounted like she is on that horse, that stud horse is one of the coolest horses in the country because of his quick feet and his big stops. My 5th point is, if you watched my finals preview, and I said that I thought Ruffalicious would step up because I didn't think Gonna Be Big Time had another run in him, Jason had to go and prove me wrong. He did, and made a great run in the finals. I think that's going to be his million horse, and he might be, if he can clean up a couple little details, he might be the one guy to push on Casey and Andrea. I think those 2 guys being pushed on a little bit will be advantageous because it will make it better watching. But I think Jason's got the best shot right now with the horses he has. Is that recency biased? Maybe a little bit, but I just saw that horse make 3 big runs in 3 weeks. So, yeah, it's very possible that Jason has a shot. And no, he wouldn't be my favorite, but he's got a shot at the million. And I've got one more bonus point for you guys. I usually don't cover the lower levels and stuff because it's not the glitz and the glam of the level 4, and I could go in for hours describing this, but I'm gonna point out 2 kids who don't need any introduction, but Sam Flaherty and Luca Fapani both had a really good NRBC for their first time as pros. Sam was half point for making the level 4 finals, and I believe he was whatever that would be in the level 3. And Luca comes back and makes the 2 and 3 finals on 2 horses and ends up winning both the 2 and the 3 with a 26.5, which if he had been in the level 4 finals means that he would have been with that same run, obviously, and we don't know what would happen, but that same run, that means he would have been in 4th place, 5th place, something like that. So he's right up there with his dad and Casey and many others. And Sam's first go run was wicked good, so I think that those 2 kids have a really bright future in this deal. Most people would predict it because they're famous trainers' sons and they've had the experience of being around 2 of the greatest ever. But they're going about it different ways, but I think that they both have a lot of success in their future, and I'm kind of looking forward to watching the lower levels because they're in it this year. So that's my 5 points, and as usual, I want to thank Tricked Out Spook for sponsoring the show. I'm going to have a commercial here on the end of it for them, and as usual, thanks to everybody involved behind the scenes on this show. I'd like to see everybody like, comment, share, subscribe. I want some discussion. Like, I love discussing with you guys, and I get a lot of in-person talks when I show up at a horse show. So I love talking to people. So if you ever see me at a horse show, come talk to me. And I've got some ideas for some other videos that might be coming up soon. And we're going to probably be on hiatus until I get back from the best little derby in the West. I'm going up to Idaho for a horse show for 10 days. And so when I get back from that, we will probably have another episode released. And that's all. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care. As anyone will know, I'm a big fan of Tricked Out Spook. The son of Spook's Got a Gun has produced some of my favorite horses I've ever gotten to ride, including Tricks at Midnight. And he's also produced multiple Level 4 Futurity finalists and multiple Derby finalists, including this year's NRBC non-pro Level 4 finalist, A Small Town Trick. He's just a great combination of good-minded and great physicality, including giant stoppers. And if you are considering breeding this year or next, I would strongly encourage you to contact Foals R Us and breed a Tricked Out Spook.